Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about what exactly Marvel MCU Phase 4 is about. Cause I have no idea. In fact, nobody seems to understand what Marvel Phase 4 is about or what is really truly leading to. I don't even think people who work in the MCU even know. I don't even think Kevin Feige knows, to tell you the truth, what's it about. Like, the man has literally said Phase 5 will make more sense and be more clearer. Well, dude, why can't you do that with Phase 4? Because everybody is complexed on this. Nobody really truly seems to know what the freak nuts is going on. Because the thing about the MCU and their phases, they always lead to a common denominator, something, some type of end game. This big climactic something or another. Even if you didn't quite understand what the first three phases were about as they were going, halfway into it and towards the end, you figured it out. Especially when it came to that climactic battle. The first clip, like, it just started like, okay. It started making sense, you know what I'm saying? But with Phase 4, it's going in so many different directions that people are kind of confused. It's kind of like, okay, well, first people assumed it's about this. Then it started being about that. Then it started being about this. Now, I have speculated a couple of things. I speculated Young Avengers, older Marvel heroes that were established in the other phases being replaced, and the multiverse. So far, the multiverse is the only concrete thing there is. As for replacements, that's kind of up in the air, especially after Thor Love and Thunder, because people assumed Jane Foster, the mighty Thor, was going to take over for Thor, but she died. So, yeah. But then they brought in Hercules. Could he possibly replace Thor? Who knows? You know what I'm saying? And so, like, here's the things about the other phases. Like I said before, I don't care what Kevin Feige says. The MCU was never planned out from day one. It couldn't have. There are too many inconsistencies, too many continuity issues, too many timeline muckety muck. Especially when Tom Holland came in and be like, hey, guess what, everybody? That was me, like my character, not actually me, but that was my character. And Spider-Man, I mean, not Spider-Man, but Iron Man 2. You know, the guy in the Iron Man like mask, and he's going against the drone, and Iron Man had to save him. That was me. That was Peter Parker. No, it was not. That wasn't even the actor doing it. Like he said that was his character, just not him. This confused the crap out of people because then the timeline got misscrewed. Then Black Panther came out and the timeline got even worse. It got to the point where Kevin Feige had to hire somebody to map it all out, because even he couldn't do it because he didn't know what the world was going on. I still also believe that a lot of the phases and a lot of the events that happened in these Marvel movies was a direct ploy by that of the directors and stuff. I truly believe that people like Josh Whedon threw in Thanos at the end as just kind of like a tease for them to kind of like go forward. And since people like that, they're like, okay, fine, let's do the whole Infinity thing. But then I also feel Jon Favreau is the one who started it when he brought in Nick Fury towards the end of like Iron Man and talking about like, you know, getting the Avengers started. Whether Kevin Feige knew that or not, I don't know. But hey, but Jon Favreau was the man who did that. And it's the same thing with the Incredible Hulk in the Universal movie. This is before there was an MCU. See, Iron Man 1 and the Incredible Hulk were not part of Disney. They were not part of the MCU. They were part of other movie properties. Once they started making bank, then Marvel got themselves out of bankruptcy and they didn't have to sell no more characters, and then they started forming their own movies. At the end of the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man shows up and he's all like, he's getting a team started. to take on who? A bigger threat. And that threat was originally supposed to be the Hulk and everything. And so, like, and the Hulk was supposed to be like one of the primary villains in that of the first Avengers movie, but that got changed and everything. And so, like, then, of course, Universal still owns the rights to the Hulk, and people not sure what's going on. Is it connected? Is it not? Well, they made sure it was connected by showing people, Bruce Banner trying to shoot himself, and then the Hulk transforming and stuff, and that was told in the first Avenger, connecting those two movies together. So the Incredible Hulk, even though he is still owned by Universal, is still connected to the MCU, similar to how Spider-Man is a Sony property, but he is connected now to the MCU. And so when it comes to that of phase one, that was merely just to introduce our heroes, either in their own solo movies or crammed them in somebody else's movie. We got their origins, we got their woes, we got why they became heroes, and all this other stuff. And it was leading to a bigger picture from what Jon Favreau said, and that is to form the Avengers. But who is that threat that the Avengers is going to take on now that the Hulk movie at that time wasn't really connected at that point, but they had to later connect it later on. So then they brought in when the Avengers movie started, they brought in the Chitauri and everything, which is the ultimate comic books version of the Skrulls and the first villains they went up against. And since a lot of those Marvel movies costumes took inspiration from the Ultimate Universe, it made sense that, okay, they were going to be the big bads and everything. And so they were in the Avengers. Fury was, preparing them for like a huge event that was coming up and the alien invasion and stuff. And so, but then we find out at the end, Thanos had a hand in that. But how? And also the Chitauri didn't really act like an alien race. They acted more like foot soldiers. What the world was going on? And so, they started world building and stuff like that. And it turns out that Thanos pretty much is going planet by planet and wiping out civilizations and making people into slaves and his foot soldiers and stuff. Because, if you know anything about the Chitauri, they're a lot more tougher than what they were in that Avengers movie and stuff. And they're more driven with their own mission because they are technically the Skrulls and everything. And so that was phase one. And with Thanos showing up, people assume with him talking about somebody, I think what he said, quotes death or beckons death or something like that. People assume, okay, the Infinity Saga is going to happen. So they started to roll with that. And phase two was primarily, introducing more heroes to take on a much bigger threat. And also it stripped down the heroes that was already established and everything. Everything that made them was getting stripped down because making them more of a hero with their woe is me's and stuff. Also, it was getting more into the Infinity Stones. They started getting introduced more and more in Marvel movies, even to the point where people didn't even realize they were already there. Take the Tesseract, for example. That was in Captain America, the first Avenger, and also in the Avengers movie. I don't believe for a second that originally the Infinity Stone, I don't believe it was originally in there. I just don't believe that. And I also don't believe that the Infinity Stone was originally in that of like Loki's staff. I just don't feel that for some reason. But even though he did take over people's like mind with the Mind Stone and everything, I just don't feel that and everything. Because it's kind of like, I don't know, because the power differs between movies and stuff. Like, he started using it as energy burst at one point and like all other crap. And so, like, maybe the Infinity Stone was always in there. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. I just feel like, at least with the Tesseract, it wasn't always there, I feel like, I truly feel like it was just that of the cosmic cube, but not really, what it was supposed to be. But in a way, but it led us to like the formation of the Infinity Stones. And then of course, Vision had like the Mind Stone in his head. And all of a sudden, like, it's kind of like, well, what exactly can the Mind Stone do? It seems to be doing pretty much anything and everything. And then you gotta remember the Reality Stone, the Ether. I feel like that. I don't still remember anything that happened in Thor: The Dark World, but I'm pretty sure the power was completely different and stuff. It didn't look like it warped reality. It just looked like it just hurt people and stuff, you know? And so it wasn't really concrete, but it still led to more stuff. Then we get to phase three, and now this is a combination of everything that we knew before, but it still was stripping our heroes down of everything they had. It was making them so vulnerable that when Thanos came, they would be scattered and not really associated with each other. Some of our heroes are now on the run as fugitives. Other ones are like turn out to be villains and stuff because they arrested their other hero friends, and people are losing their loved ones and losing their home and everything like that. And they Tony lost his like metal heart, and and so it's like they was losing. Thor lost his hammer. Captain America lost his country and his pride and everything. And it's just like people are losing everything that they love. And so then of course the big threat came that was leading up to this, which is Thanos, and they had to like fight him and stuff. So it was concrete what was going on back then. But now you get into phase four, and it's very confusing. And it's just kind of like, because Kevin Feige even said that all of those Disney Plus shows are supposed to connect to a bigger picture in phase four. But it doesn't. The only one that seems to connect is that of WandaVision, and that's only because of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. And now Falcon and the Winter Soldier is going to connect because Falcon is now the new Captain America, which a lot of people are now complaining because they don't want a black Captain America. And even Chris Evans had to go online and shut people up and be all like, Sam is the new Captain America, period. You know what I'm saying? Boy, I swear you racist internet trolls, boy, man, I don't know what to say about y'all. And so, like, those are so far the only two that are connecting to that of phase four. Everything else is just like up in the water. And there really aren't that many movies coming out now. It's mostly just the Disney Plus shows. So if the Disney Plus shows are supposed to connect, how exactly are they connecting? This is what we know so far. Kevin Feige has stated there are no more big Avenger movie anything events, like, so there will be no more Avengers movies and stuff. Now there could still always be an Avengers team, but there won't be any Avengers movie. He said Endgame was just that, the end game of like the Avengers and stuff. So yeah, no more Avengers movies. That was stated by him. Kane the Conqueror is supposed to be one of supposed to be the big bad going into this next saga and everything. Now we've seen a variant of him, a goofy version, show up in the Loki series and stuff. But that one died, but there are still other ones. Now, Kane the Conqueror is all about time travel and conquering the world and stuff like that. And in fact, he did conquer the world at one point, but had to go back in time with some shenanigans and stuff like that. And they already established their rules of time travel in the MCU, so chances are he will just break off. If he does time travel and change things, he would just, create an alternate reality more into that multiverse. Speaking of the multiverse, it is now official in the MCU. After being teased for so long and everything, it has now truly finally shown up in that of Loki, in that of Doctor Strange, too, in that of the Spider-Man No Way Home movie. So the multiverse is supposed to bring in the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, because like they're not on the Earth that we know and love and everything. And in fact, there are some leaked details about a Doctor Doom movie. Why is he getting his own movie and not the Fantastic Four? So that's something. So it makes you think, well, Doctor Doom, because he's a pretty big person and he loves to betray people. Will he eventually be the big bad in like the MCU? Don't know. replacement characters. So, there are some people that are in fact getting replaced. Captain America, Steve Rogers is too old. Sam is now the new Captain America. He is the only one that is confirmed as a replacement. Kate Bishop, maybe she's replacing Hawkeye. Hawkeye seems to be doing this whole retirement thing in the Hawkeye series. It seems like she is going to take over. As for everybody else, that we don't know. Jane the Mighty Thor has not taken over as Thor because, well, she died. And let's see who else. It is rumored that Riri Williams, Ironheart, is supposed to come into the MCU. At what point? Don't know. Also, Miles Morales is supposed to come into the MCU. At what point? Don't know. And speaking of those two, members of the Young Avengers have already shown up in Phase 4. We have the twins, the Wiccan and Speed twins. They came in WandaVision and Doctor Strange too. Let's see who else. Whoever Ant-Man's daughter is, she's supposed to get recast in the third Ant-Man movie. She is part of the Young Avengers as well. This is her third time being recast. I don't know why they recast the second person, but I guess maybe the third girl's acting is better. And she also has blonde hair, so that helps. And we know Kate Bishop is a member of the Young Avengers. Now, at some point in the comics, I believe Miles and Riri, I think at some point they became Young Avengers. I'm not sure about American Chavez, but if she is, then hey, she's already here. You know what I'm saying? And so we know that they're here somewhere, but will they get their own movie? Will they get their own show? That we just don't know. Also, Phase 4 seems to be going down more of a comedy route. More and more comedy is being infused into their properties. It's to the point where people are calling them family films now, and that is a huge red flag. These are not family films, they are comic book adaptations. Thor, Love and Thunder, my God, that is like a spoof. Moon Knight had levities of comedy in it, and so did Miss Marvel. SheHulk is supposed to be a sitcom type thing where it's very comedic. I've been hearing stuff online that like Wonder Man is supposed to be another comedy sitcom type thing. And I'm just like, dude, what in the world? Then you have villains being more comedical and stuff. That in the movies and that of the MCU TV shows. Falcon and Winter Soldier, that one female lady who works for like Hydra or whatever. She's very comedic. She is not supposed to be comedic. She is supposed to be tough in the comics. That variant of, what's his name? Kane the Conqueror. He was comedic. Why is he comedic? And everything. And it's just like more and more comedy is being injected into the MCU to where it's just a laugh fest now. Hawkeye felt like a comedy. Well, it was a comedy and everything. The only thing I liked about Hawkeye was Haley Steinfeld. But my God, there was just too much humor in that. And now they're starting to bring in the Netflix MCU people in. Like, they already brought in Kingpin. He looked comedic. And they're bringing in Daredevil. And now Echo's supposed to have her own series, both those guys in it. And I wonder how much humor is going to be in that. Then there's the confusion of the Skrull. See, I've already said it before. The Chitauri are the Skrull, just in another comic book universe. But then the MCU decided, hey, we're gonna have both. So they had the Skrull and the Avengers. No, they had the what are their names? The Chitauri and Avengers, and then they brought in the Skrull in Phase 3 and Captain Marvel. And so it's kind of like, okay, but they're the good guys. That don't make no sense. So I doubt Marvel will go the Secret Invasion route, because that was a big comic book event where the Skrull impersonated members of Heroes and like the Avengers and stuff, and it was such a shocker and everything. They can't do that storyline now. They ruined that and everything with their stupid humor, and they needed a new villain, so they couldn't figure nobody out. Now, there seems to be this whole supernatural, other realm, deity, godlike, spiritual stuff that's been going on so far in phase 4 of the MCU. The Eternals, these godlike space like entities and everything. I can't remember the name. Eternity, I think the name is, has now shown up in the Thor movie and stuff. The fourth one. Who else? There's always like these celestial beings and stuff now being introduced. We have the gods from Moon Knight showing up. We have the clandestites from Miss Marvel showing up. Her bangle is pretty like spiritual and everything, spiritual, magical, and the whole Jinn thing that has now been introduced. Oh, something else. Blade is supposed to show up, and he's all about fighting vampires. Black Knight is supposed to show up. So could phase 4 be leading into more of a magical route? Or will somehow, and also Wanda's magical and Doctor Strange are magical, but Wanda's now dead. But if the X-Men are coming in, then they could have their own version of Wanda. So maybe they're going the magical route. I don't know. Now, some people believe that Secret Wars is going to be the big event. I don't know much about that. I have to research that. But a lot of people have been speculating that some of these events that's been going on in phase 4 are going to like tie in to Secret Wars and everything. So maybe that could be the big like new event for like, you know, the next phases going forward. But so far, people just don't know, because Moon Knight and Miss Marvel, if they're supposed to connect to a bigger world in the MCU, what are they exactly about? They seem to be more about self-contained stories and that of the character, and not overlapping to that of the bigger picture of the MCU. Like Moon Knight was about this dude who has like, you know, all these split personalities, and he interacts with the Egyptian gods and stuff like that. Miss Marvel, I'm still not quite sure. It's just like she's just some ordinary girl who got a bangle that's inherited in her family, and it has magical powers, and they brought up like the Jinn, and I still don't know exactly who they are, and the clandestites still don't know who they are, and they live in like, they're like these alien type things that live in a different realm, or maybe they're these spiritual type things that live in a different realm. But you know, and it's just kind of like, how is that connecting to the MCU and the characters that are already established? So this needs to connect in some way. Moon Knight and Miss Marvel so far does not connect. And I don't know what the world Kevin Feige was talking about, like all these shows are supposed to connect to a bigger picture, but nobody is seeing that bigger picture. And you know, and this could be just because they want to bring in new heroes and show like a different side to superheroism and stuff like that. That's fine, but it has to connect. The problem with the MCU is that they started something that was unfounded before. Movies connecting to another and leading to a bigger picture, a huge universe, a cinematic universe. And now they're kind of like drifting away from that a little bit. And so it's just confusing people. And not to mention, at the end of Doctor Strange 2, now he has to go against more sorcery and gods and this and that. And so maybe it is about sorcery and deities and all this other stuff. Maybe they're going to all fight for position on Earth or something like that. I don't know. That'll be neat. Alrighty. Well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.